Welcome, neighbors, ladies and gentlemen, to the December meeting of the Belvedere Civic Club. We wanted to have a meeting every month. Unfortunately, it took a little bit longer to coordinate the meeting for this particular project. And so, but we felt that this was so important that we went ahead and scheduled this meeting in December. So again, welcome to the December Belvedere Civic Club meeting, and we certainly hope that this meeting will be extremely useful to everyone. So we'd like to have some announcements right now, and I'd like to begin with Victoria. Victoria Anglin is our Civic Club Vice President, and she is the lady that re-implemented the Friends of Shoal Creek Park, and she has been a big leader in working with a philanthropic organization called Park Pride to develop a vision for all of the Shoal Creek Park. So Victoria, would you like to bring us up to date on that, please?
Sure, I sure can. Welcome everyone again. My name is Victoria Anglin. I am currently, I guess, the chair for the visioning process that the Shoal Creek Friends of Shoal Creek Park 1 applied for in 2020. It's a visioning process which allows landscape park developers to come through and with community input develop a vision plan for the parks. So in our effort to get our park, Shoal Creek 1, which is within Belvedere Park and White Oak Hills neighborhoods, a vision plan for that, we also pulled in Shoal Creek Parks 2 and 3 within that vision plan. So that it was a 2-year process, and we finally had the completion of that process this past week or last week. We had the last visioning meeting of the committee, and the vision plan is up on the website and ready to be looked at by all. And then the next process or the next steps would be for us to present that to the county parks, to the county parks department, Parks and Recreation, and then to get approval from our commissioners, and then start funding all of the projects that we, as the community came together and saw that, well, what we wanted in our neighborhood parks. So we've got a long road ahead still. Thank you, Wayne.
You're welcome. And let me also indicate that we are working on another item with Park Pride. We have applied for a grant. We do not know if we will get it, but it should be for approximately $50,000 to do some improvement just for Shoal Creek Park 1. This $50,000 will not include Shoal Creek Parks 2 and 3. But so stay tuned. We may have some good information to give to you early next year about the Shoal Creek Park 1 grant. Okay, Sandra, would you like to update us, please, on some of the problems that we had with the calling post feature that we try to use to keep the community informed?
Sure thing, thanks. Some of you may know that we use a platform called Calling Post to send out our voicemail messages and our monthly e-newsletter. They just recently went through a very large update, and it seems like maybe they broke some things along the way. Some of you may have received a couple of emails that were just filled with placeholding text and didn't make any sense. I was able to get out a valid email just using our Gmail account. I tried to put out a couple of voicemails letting people know about this upcoming meeting that we were having, but unfortunately they didn't go out. Now, we have tried several different platforms in the past, but most of them just do one or the other, right? Like they will only send out emails or they will only send out voicemails. And Calling Post is what we found that could do both of them. We take very seriously the responsibility of our donors' money. We want to be good stewards of that money, and we do not feel that it is a good idea to have two different platforms that we have to pay for. So, in the meantime, we are going to be sending out messages through our Gmail account, and while hopefully Calling Post can get this new update patch to get all the bugs fixed, but if that doesn't happen, then, we can use our Google Voice account in conjunction with our Gmail account. Either way, we are committed to staying in touch with the community and informing the community. So my apologies for, getting a whole bunch of bad emails and maybe not getting the message to you all about this meeting as quickly as I would have liked to, but that is a problem we're aware of, and hopefully we will have fixed very soon.
Thank you, Sandra. And just one more quick announcement. January the 9th is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And the Belvedere Civic Club wanted to try to show appreciation to the DeKalb County Police South Precinct, but we don't know if we'll be able to bring donuts and coffee to them yet, because it's my understanding that the police precinct is still, the building is closed and people are not allowed to go in there unless, of course, you're a police officer. So we will, this is another thing that we will try to keep you informed about if we're able to demonstrate our community's appreciation for what the South Precinct does for us. Okay, thank you for being patient while we run through these announcements. And now we would like to get to the main topic of tonight's meeting. It's potential removal of another blighted property in our community. As you know, our community and surrounding communities worked very, very strongly to try to help remove the 4 uninhabited, blighted houses along Memorial Drive from close to Line Street up to Thomas. And so now the company called Valor Tower is in the process of bringing approximately, I think it's 40 to 50 townhomes to that area along Memorial Drive, and it's going to be called the Grand Teresa Townhomes. So that will be, when they're able to finally complete it, the removal of at least 4 areas of blight in our community. And our entire communities worked tirelessly with the proposed developer, the potential developer, to move this forward. It took at least 2 years to get those derelict houses removed. And I think many of you heard about Victoria and I speaking in favor of the Dunkin' Donut coming to Belvedere Plaza Shopping Center. And just recently, just this month, we spoke in favor of this proposal. The DeKalb Planning Department did not want to move forward with this because they felt that the Belvedere Plaza area is in a zoning area that is supposed to be looking forward to more pedestrian traffic rather than vehicle traffic. So they said this is inconsistent with our future plans. But Victoria and I spoke in favor of removing this blight from our community. And fortunately, the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners saw fit to approve this application. And hopefully in the near future, the old Sonic's derelict building will be completely renovated and we'll have a new Dunkin' Donut. So now, several weeks ago, one of our neighbors, Mr. C.L. Welch, he contacted me and he said, hey, there's a potential developer that wants to take care of the old derelict Hess gasoline station at the intersection of Memorial and Rupert. Can we try to talk with them? And so I was able to reach out to Mr. Parks, the potential developer, and Mr. Scott, I believe the man that will be speaking to us this evening. And we were able over almost a month to work out this meeting. And so I would like to extend a welcome on behalf of our community to Mr. Scott and ask him to explain to us what type of proposal that y'all have for this derelict old building. Mr. Scott, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Mr. Parks has been trying to get on, but he's having internet issues and can't quite do it. I've got him on my phone right here, so he'll be able to hear. And I thought I'd give him a chance right now to try to see if he can speak. And I'll put the phone by the microphone just to be able to address you all a little bit before I go into the full presentation, if that's okay.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, Rico, you want to say a few things?
Hi, Belvedere Civic Club. My name is Rico Park. I'm the owner of 3357 Memorial Drive. We're planning to try to put a little workspace up there if we can get the variant. If y'all like our idea, y'all help will be much needed. We had a meeting with Larry Johnson, the CEO, last week, and we're trying to move forward. He wanted to know the feedback of the meeting tonight. If it's a good feedback, hopefully he can join us and get things started for us getting the variant stuff. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much here. And what, as he said, we need the variance to really be able to do anything with that property. Is it possible for me to share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What I've got on here is an aerial view of the property. Can you all see that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, I sent along answers to those questions that you sent me, Mr. Powell. Did everybody get a chance to review those answers?
The board did. Yes, we did.
Okay. Would you like for me to go through those, or do you want me to just go through this presentation and then we can deal with it? Because the presentation, I kind of structured it around those questions.
Yeah, I think that will be good. And if there are questions that still are not answered, or if we want further clarification, then we'll ask questions. But I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to give us a written response to each of those questions. Thank you.
Oh,
Please.
well, thank you very much. And any information that we can provide you will be great. You know, we're glad to provide it. And so you just kind of need to let us know what the kind of questions there are, or any comments you have on the plan. This is still very early in the process, so nothing is completely set in stone. The only thing that really is set is right now the requirements that the county has. This first plan that I have here is an aerial of the site, which is right here in this corner, and this little triangular kind of purplish pink area, that is what is possible to build on right now. It's a total of 780 square feet. The current setbacks are 60 feet from Memorial Drive, 50 feet from Belvedere Lane, and 20 feet from the neighboring property. So, and if you can kind of see back in here, this is where the existing Hess gas station is. So the only thing we could possibly do is retrofit the existing building and maybe have a used car lot on there or something else, because there isn't any room to build anything else there. And this is, again, is just showing it on the survey to give you an idea. You know, it shows where the gas tanks are and where this existing clearances that we could build. Now, this plan, I just took it and showed you what we have asked for variances. And what they are is we want to go to a 20-foot setback from Memorial Drive, a 30-foot setback from Belvedere Lane, and a 10-foot setback from the side property. As you can see, the existing property next to it has parking right up to the property line. So reducing this to a 10-foot is not really going to do anything to their building over here. On the proposed 20 feet from Memorial Drive, if you were to go and about less than 1,000 feet up Memorial Drive towards 285, you get into the town center district, which is where the Belvedere Plaza is. This 20-foot setback is exactly what they have there. So we're not looking at doing something that's completely out of the ordinary from anything that's real close to it. And then the 30-foot setback in here, you'll see in the plan, it is something that it makes the project work. We think it's enough to have enough landscape and enough distance from there that it's not going to really impact things negatively. And going to these setbacks, we end up with 9,700 square feet in the buildable area. Obviously, we're not putting buildings on all of the 9,700 square feet. One of the questions that was asked, what was going to happen with the underground storage tanks, and those are going to be removed. We are in process of discussion with Decide DeKalb. They have some brownfield money. They're going after more brownfield money because they want to remove all the gas tanks. We have had studies done that do not show any contamination. The tanks are empty, but that doesn't mean that there isn't any. But when we get in there and dig up the tanks, if there is any contamination, then that would also be dealt with as part of the whole process. And that'd be part of what we'd be going through with the county in terms of getting their federal money to do it. Our intent is not to cancel the project for any reason. Mr. Parks owns this property. He believes in the property, and he has enough invested in it that he really wants to go forward with it. And we're going to keep doing it whatever way we can. And as he mentioned on the phone, what we want to do is we want to do live-work units. What that means is we have townhomes. There'll be 3-story townhomes, but the downstairs level is meant as like an office or like a small shop, not a big, where there'd be a whole lot of traffic, but it'd be just something where the people who live in the townhouse above it, that's where they would have their office, or that's where they would have their shop. And that's why it's called live work, so that you don't go to an office or you don't go to a shopping center somewhere. You stay home as much as you can with it, which of course it's something a lot of people have learned to do a lot more of in the last couple of years. But that's really the intent. We have where we can fit basically 5 units here. You can see the lines that do them. We've got about approximately 6,700 square feet on the base floor level. So that leaves what, about 3,000 square feet that's not, that is outside of it, that's still within the buildable area. But so you've got 3 stories of 6,700 units per 6,700 feet divided by 5, comes up to be about 1,300 square feet per level, which would be a 2,600 foot townhome on top of a 1,300 square foot office, to give you an idea. We eliminate the entrances to the site up here and just have one entrance on Memorial Drive here. And then we have the existing 2 entrances off Belvedere Lane, just because it functions well that way. One of the questions was what we had in mind for security. Obviously, we're going to have cameras and lights and that type of stuff, but we also want to go ahead and we've discussed anyway, have the rear area gated here, so that where the residents park their cars, because what we have is we have enough parking here for the residents, and then we have parking here for people that would come to do business there. So we would gate and fence this area back here to make it secure, but then keep this area open, because we don't think it's a great thing when you're driving by Memorial Drive to see all these fences and stuff. It just makes people think that it's more dangerous than it is. And that's our thought on it at this point. It's not fully resolved yet, but do you have any questions about the plan here?
Are there garages?
No, there are not. We would like to have garages, but because of the setbacks, in order to put the garages in, if we put the garages in the unit we may end up doing that. But with the difficulty of putting the garages in the unit, you end up taking up so much of what would be the office space. It may be what we switch to is maybe a couple of them have garages in the units, and maybe there's the ones on these end, we could do those with garages in the units. This angle is because of, just to make it work, but we could have garages in these end units, and that reduces the square footage of the offices. And then back in here, there's probably enough room to have an attached garage in the back. So we would like to have garages, at least 1 car garage per unit, but we haven't really gotten that far in it yet. We know for sure that with the setbacks we're asking for, that we can provide this.
And so the entrances to the offices or retail space, that would be along the Memorial Drive side?
Yes. For visitors, you mean?
Yeah, and customers.
Yes, obviously people live there would enter their businesses from the back, but yes, anybody that's coming there would come in the front door.
Hey, hi, my name's Jessica. I've got a few questions for you. So you keep talking about office space downstairs. Is that definitely going to be office space, or is it potentially office/retail? Because, office space is not something that's, particularly in high demand in real estate these days.
Well, it could be retail, but it'd be a small retail. It's not going to be high traffic type retail just because of the size of it and where it's located.
Right, and only 3 parking spaces.
Well, and the question that, as far as the office space not being in high demand, you could probably tell, I have my office in my home. I've had since COVID. A lot of people have done that now. And so this becomes kind of a hybrid for people like me in the design profession, in the consulting profession, where you don't really have, it's better than what I have here now, because this provides a place for my clients to come and it's a lot easier to deal with than just being in home. So it's not really like you're looking at, you're competing with the office spaces, the building in Midtown or anything like that. You're really looking at a small consulting firm or small, where both the husband and the wife work and they can work from home. And it's really, some friends of mine, both of them work, and they work from home, not as much now that she's going back to the office, but they have 2 young kids. And so it makes for an ideal situation where they can have an office and their kids could still be at home and they'd be involved in all that.
So is the idea then that whomever buys these units would also be buying the office space below?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, because each unit is like a 3-story townhome. And and one of the questions that was asked to us, whether or not, is going to be for sale or rental and so forth. At this point, Mr. Parks is thinking that he would like to do them as rental. He has some other properties and he's well experienced in managing and taking care of it. And he feels that this project is going to be real, it's going to help to bring a lot more attention and development to this part. So he feels that really this property, the property values in this area are really going to be on the rise. And he would like to be able to take advantage of some of that increase that he helps to bring about. They'd be set up just like when they build apartments nowadays, they design them and build them so they can be switched to condominiums. And this would be a kind of situation that it'd be very easy if he decides to go ahead and sell these as townhome units, which then another question was asked how they would be maintained. Yes, if he sold them, then they would all be part of a homeowners association, and they'll be mandatory, so they'd have to contribute to the upkeep and the maintenance.
And it looks like Stacy McDermott has a question.
I do. I mean, one of my questions was going to be how much were they going to cost? And I guess if you were going to, it sounds like you're going to rent them. I don't like that idea at all, but how much would be the rental for each unit?
Well, I'd like to give you an answer on that, but there are a couple of reasons we can't really know. I mean, the easy one, of course, you rent it for as much as you can. But with the construction costs going up as they have in the last 2 years, they seem to be settling out right now. But we don't really know what the construction costs are going to be. So it's pretty impossible to put a price on it. And I think that it's also, we don't know exactly when we're going to be able to get started with this. So I don't, we talked about this because that was one of the questions that were submitted to us. So we talked about this earlier. And they're just, the other thing that's coming, we're the very conceptual stage, so that we do not have final building plans even yet. I'll show you, we have something we're going to be working towards, but until we have final building plans, we are not able to get really a good construction cost estimate. And until we know what our costs are, it's pretty impossible to set a price on it. I just can tell you that, it's going to be driven by the market, and the idea would be to, we're not, he's not wanting to build something that's going to be on the low end here. He's not building something that would just be trying to get out of it as quickly as can and make as much money as possible. And I think I understand your concern about renting, but on a project of this scale, as opposed to a large apartment complex, there are some advantages also to consider, because, he is going to have skin in the game. And so he is going to be maintaining it, and he's going to be there on a regular basis. And since you all will know him from all this process, there's something that you're not happy about, you'll know who to call.
Hey, this is Jessica again. Just one kind of thought, question, concern. I'm not sure what it is, but it sounds like since you are still kind of in the conceptual phase, that this plan could change. So if the plan does change for there to be retail downstairs and apartments upstairs, which is a little bit more of what you see in the Atlanta area these days, would there be a plan, one, for an entrance from the neighborhood into the property, so that we wouldn't have to leave the neighborhood, go out onto Memorial Drive, and then come in? And two, would there be more parking?
Well, I can answer the second question best. I mean, the site is just so small. I've looked at this many different ways, and just getting any more parking in here without, one plan, we had a little bit more parking and did not have as much space in here, but there was a lot more parking visible from Memorial Drive, which, the plan is not something that's real doing. Also, I should remind you, all we're going for right now is the variance in the setbacks. That is all that we're doing. Once that is achieved, then we would get into design and we would get into the process of getting a building permitted. You will still have plenty of input with us and also with the county before any final plans are done. And what I'd like to do here, just for a minute, and we can always come back to this too here. This is the type of unit we're talking about. This happens to be a project I found a picture of. It's in Seattle, but you can see downstairs is where you've got the commercial units, and then you've got 2 stories of townhomes. On the downstairs level, it'd just be all open like this, you know, with the glass going out and the door coming in. We would love to have a rooftop terrace, as is so popular around Atlanta these days. We don't know what, you know, that will get into zoning because they have a height restrictions and what we can do there, but we think it would add a lot of value for the cost. And you can see again here, this open floor plans in the living area with, you know, glass going out in the front, and I'm sure there'll be some views going out in the back. But this is the thing we're looking at here that's going to be, you know, quite contemporary in appearance. You know, we think it'll set a good standard for new development on Memorial Drive, but it's also not going to be something that is completely out of the, you know, normal around Atlanta. We want it to stand out.
Miss Maddie Robinson has her hand up. Miss Maddie, do you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I live on Belvedere Lane and I'm not in, I don't like you building these apartments there. You have apartments behind those service stations. They're building townhouses down the street to the church. And have you had a impact study of traffic? And also you have a lot of empty houses on Belvedere Lane. There are about 5 from Rupert and Belvedere to San Gabriel.
First of all,
I'm sorry, one more thing. Why can't he just clean the mess up instead of waiting to build something? Clean it up first while he's getting these variances done and all this, because it looks a mess.
Clean it up in terms of
tear it down, and they have a lot of junk over there. Remove all the junk.
I'll see if he will mention that. I'll find out what we need to do. I don't know that that's necessarily a problem. He hasn't owned the property a whole long time, but next, as far as the traffic study, that's something that would come during the land development process of getting the building permit. For the amount of use we're going to get here and the use that was here before with the gas station, I don't believe there's going to be any amount of traffic that this is going to really create a lot. As far as the other apartments, I understand that there are plenty of examples up and down Memorial Drive of projects that you don't want. It's kind of a shame that Memorial Drive was allowed to deteriorate as it has. I went to Henderson High School back in I graduated in '71, and I remember coming down to Memorial Drive, and we would go over to what was DeKalb College at the time and play soccer and then go eat and hang out and do that. Memorial Drive is totally different then. And I think that DeKalb County has not done a good job of making it the place that it should be. And I think that a lot of those apartments you talked of are exactly that reason. As far as the vacant houses, I believe from my experience is quality development in a neighborhood or in a community does more to get people investing than anything else. Right now, I live down in the Old Fourth Ward near Pond City Market, and there is $1 billion project going, but then there've got all these other apartments and everything that's going on in restaurants. And it's a great place. There, you can't find an empty house down here. And I think that what we would like to do in the earlier question about how people in the neighborhood would get to this, we very much want that to happen. Combination sidewalks being easy to access with the car. Excuse me? Excuse me? But we want this to connect to and interface with the neighborhood as much as possible. And, as far as comparing it to any apartment complexes, I don't think that is a good way to look at it because of the scale of it, and that it's going to be a single owner managing a small property like this. And it's going to be much more controlled and much different that way.
I think Ms. Robinson has a really good point about cleaning up the property. I understand that he hasn't owned it for a super long time, but it would be a good faith effort, I think, to show the community that he's invested in it to clean up the property. Even if you can't tear down the structure, there's just so much junk there. People dump stuff there all the time. And we've even, had events there and done a roll call with the police. And we had to clean it up beforehand because there was just so much junk on the property.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think cleanup and maintenance might really be a good faith gesture.
Well, I'm sure it'd be open to that. One of the other things, though, that I hadn't really thought of because every time I've been out there, yeah, there's stuff on the property, but there may be an issue with tearing down the building right away, because if we do not get these variances, then if we tear down the building and don't get the variances, then we lose that square footage. As it is, if we don't get the variances, he can fix up that little building and use the property for something else.
Okay, and I see Mr. Larry Lowe has his hand up for a question.
I have my hand up too, but I don't know how to turn the hand signal on. Sorry, that's what this is.
Okay, Mr. Lowe first, and then Mr. McCallahan.
Alrighty. So if I'm understanding correctly, that area isn't currently zoned for mixed development. And do you have examples of other projects that you worked on, and can you provide like a timeline of how this would be implemented?
I can provide. I'll send Mr. Paul some other projects that I've done. Timeline. There's no telling how long it's going to take to get through DeKalb County. I've been unable to predict that for the last 20 years. So, but once we get it, once we get the building permit, it's about 18 to 24 month process. We do hope that we're in our work with Decide DeKalb. We do hope that we will get funding to remove the gas tanks. And as soon as we get that funding, we would go in and remove the gas tanks. And then at that point, we'd probably remove a lot of the other concrete and stuff and plant some grass down there.
Okay.
And I don't see where there would be an issue with removing that building once we get the variance on the setbacks.
Okay. And so this area isn't currently zoned for mixed development?
It's zoned for commercial, which would allow for it. I mean, we may have to go through I'm not sure because I've been so focused on getting the setbacks. But I know there are apartments and so forth in the area, as I mentioned. And so I know that the way that the DeKalb ordinance was changed the last few years ago, they are really encouraging mixed use, especially in the community revitalization corridor, CRC, which this is the district that it's in now.
Okay. And I have one additional question. Do you all have to test the soil for contamination since it was a gas station?
And that will all be done once, as I mentioned, they've done some testing and they have not found any. But once they get in there to remove the gas tanks, they may very well find some. And if they do, then that's going to have to be part of the cleanup process as well.
Okay.
My turn?
Apparently so.
Oh, great. So I realize this is just a conceptual site plan, and this might even help with adjusting getting a variance on that setback along Memorial Drive, but could that sidewalk it looks like it runs right on Memorial, could that sort of cut back into that front yard slightly and provide some sort of landscaping along Memorial? And
I,
would that make it more
that
user
would be,
friendly, pedestrian friendly?
that would be my chief recommendation along there. I hate sidewalks that right along streets,
Mhm.
especially one as busy as Memorial Drive.
Yeah.
So that would certainly be part of it.
That was it. Oh.
And may I interrupt for a second? There are a couple of questions in the chat. One question is this from Ms. O'Neill. What about trying to acquire the other businesses in the triangle just behind this lot? And I think that's the Oscar Medical Center that she may be referring to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fairly successful business, or seems to be, from what we've seen. I know Mr. Parks has made some kind of contacts there, but they really have not expressed any interest in selling, which means that if you're going to do, you need, Jeff Bezos or someone like that to do it. And we're not.
Okay, thank you for taking that question. And let's see, and another question is, apologies showing up very late. Can someone update me in the chat? One simple question: what type of building business is replacing the old gas station? Would you mind just
Sure.
briefly explaining about the
Just real
live
quickly. Yeah. And this, as you see, is the plan that we want to do. And this is the type of situation we want to do, where you have basically a 3-story townhome with a bottom level for offices or small retail. This picture is these pictures are from a project in Seattle that I just found online, and it seemed to fit perfectly with what we're wanting to do. But this is like they have a design studio or an architect's office or something. It's basically a big open space that's down in there, and then have a townhome above it. This shows the first level of the townhome, which would be the living area, and then the sleeping area would be up on top. And then, if ideally, we might be able to eventually get a roof deck up on the roof. But that's what we'd be talking about. So we'd be talking about is a small business owner that would live on the 2 stories above, and then would have their business down below. Really, they're going back to the old, traditional thing of people living above the store.
And the vice president, Miss England, has her hand raised.
So my question is, say the community gets behind you and we do, agree that we want for something like this to take place in order for you to get approval on the variances from the community. What types of measures will be put in place to ensure that this development will be placed there? I mean, my fear is that we say, yay, we're going to go behind this, we're going to get these developments taken care of, and then this whole idea is not going to be what shows up in that spot. How do we have assurances that this is what we'll be getting if we put our support in your corner?
I've always wondered about that kind of question, because I've been in the same situation myself, and I don't know. I mean, I know Mr. Parks, so it's easy for me to feel confident in this kind of situation. But I also know that the things happen during life that we don't necessarily expect. My wife just got a pacemaker a couple weeks ago. We didn't expect anything like that, but you just kind of go on and you deal with it. I think that from my standpoint as a planner and designer, the site is so restricted. There's not, I don't know anything else. Like, for instance, you could not put a dollar store here. There's not enough parking. I'm not sure what type of things you might be able to put that could do here, but it's so limited in terms of the size of the building, and that I know that he would be willing, to put something in writing or some restrictions. I mean, as I said, all we're doing here is getting the footprint where something can be built. You know, that's kind of starts the whole review process and with the design. You know, we've still got a lot of people looking at the site plan, at the building, and you guys will need to be involved all the way through, because it is certainly our attention, and I speak for Mr. Parks based on what he has told me, you know, to do something that he's going to be proud of, you know, because his name is going to be on it for a long time. And also that fits in. If you got, you know, he's the kind of guy that if people help him out, you know, he's careful about sticking to his word and helping them out. So he really he sees this as someone that's really good for the neighborhood, and he wants to be that way. And if you have some thoughts on what we're proposing that is not really as good as you would like, you know, this we'd like to hear. We're glad to hear that you like having a security fence in the back. You know, my personal feeling, I don't think it should be a privacy fence, because, you know, privacy fences, they never really look that good anyway. And they're private up to 6 or 8 feet, and that just isn't good. But, you know, having a fence that makes it secure and you know, doing, I think, is a good thing. And it also makes it easier to have the backs of the buildings, because, you know, the houses across Belvedere Lane, will be seeing the backs of the buildings. And a lot of developments, it's obvious what the front is, and the back nobody wants to look at, but we don't really have a back here. So we've got to make it all look good. So I'm not really, I don't know if I've answered your question at all. I'm just kind of rambling because I don't know what else to say. But I think, you know, this is the only, when he came to me, he said, I want to do live work units there, you know, before we thought of anything else. And so he's not thought of doing anything else. And we both believe that it's something that, especially as has been proven by COVID, more and more people wanting to work from home and finding out they can work from home. And so we feel that, well, that there is something that's really good. And just with, if you look at, we've got 5 units here, you know, to find 5 families, you know, in all of DeKalb County, or even all of Decatur, or all of Atlanta that would want to be here, you know, we think that's a pretty darn good market. And so.
And Miss Powell has a comment, really?
Okay.
That's me. I'm Miss Powell. It's just really good to hear that you would talk to the community. You know, you are willing to receive input if we don't like something, because well, we all know what would fit into that existing structure, and it's a drive-through package store, right?
Okay.
And I could tell you immediately that the community is not going to get behind a drive-through package store. Okay, so Miss Jenny O'Neill has a question. What is the estimated ceiling height of the office level?
My guess is, I mean, it's going to be minimum 10, probably 12 feet. Because, I mean, in order to be open and to feel comfortable, and plus, you know, that's typically what you have down there. It's about 12 feet. And then I would probably go 10 feet on the main living area above that, and a minimum 9 feet on the top. You know, you know, the additional foot going up to 10 is much nicer in these type things, and may go with 10 both floors. We don't really know, but downstairs it's going to be at least 10. We haven't designed it, so I can't really speak for Mr. Parks, but my recommendation is going to be 12 feet. And the additional cost going from 10 to 12 is really not great enough to not do it, and it'll just make it that much more marketable. Well, I think also in response, before we go further away, if there are specific uses you're concerned about, you know, let us know. And I'm sure he's not going to do a drive-through package store here. I don't think it would really get approved here, but let's go ahead and get that out of your mind anyway.
Mr.
You know, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Mr. McClanahan had his hands up first, and then Miss McDermott.
I think there's a development like this that was built on East College a few years ago, and I don't think any of them have sold. I don't know whether that's because they're too close to the street, or whether the price isn't low enough for somebody to want to buy. But you might want to, and I'm sure you are looking at stuff like that to see why those haven't sold. These look sort of similar, at least in the layout. The materials are different in this Seattle project, but the sort of the layout and the idea is the same. It's on a corner lot, and for some reason it's right across from the railroad tracks. So that may be part of it. I don't know.
We will look into that, because it always helps to find out what else is going on there.
That was it.
Ms. McDermott, you had a question?
Hi, yeah, kind of piggybacking on what that gentleman just said about the East College, I guess apartments, or I guess live workspace. I live closer to East College, that area. And I would love to see revitalization to Memorial Drive. I would love to see that. And I was just wondering, if you were to make it into these townhomes, what materials would you be using? Like, would you be using more brick? I mean, what I see going up in Atlanta, honestly, isn't very aesthetically attractive. It seems very, it's not, they're just not very aesthetically pleasing.
And they're all
And
boring.
like there's not much brick, there's not much, just not very attractive. Even the ones on College where I live, I think are very unattractive.
I would agree with you on that, that not only that, they're very boring and they all look the same. This building, as you can see, I think they've got, looks like it may be concrete down here, which I can't see us doing that, but I'd see brick, and of course the windows down here, and then up here looks like they have some type of panel. I mean, it could be the hardy board, which we used a lot of here, or it could be a metal panel. I don't really know. And then obviously just the metal window sticking out. Pretty simple. But I mean, I think that's something we would be talking with you as we go through the process. I think that because of where it is, it can't look like the apartments they're building these days. It can't look like the townhomes they build these days with these little, roofs over the front door, and everyone is a different color and a different, pattern of the hardy board on there. I think it's something that we're open to and interested in a discussion. It has to be good enough to make a statement, in my mind, because otherwise, it's just going to be a money loser.
Well, we've gotten through all the questions in chat. Does anyone have a question they want to ask out loud?
Okay. Well, if there are, no other questions, we're just about coming to the end of our 1 hour session. And I would like to say thank you to the members of our community, to our neighbors who have cared enough to come out and, let your thoughts be known. This is really, really, I think, has been a very productive meeting. And I think that we've gotten a lot of good input, from our community. And Mr. Scott, I think you've done an absolutely remarkable job showing us examples, showing us that you only have 780 square feet, that you can work with, which is, that's nothing. And I think that we all want this property, to be upgraded. I mean, it's a derelict piece of property. It's a blight on our community. And I think that, what you have proposed and the suggestions that our community has provided to you, will go a long way in helping to improve the quality of life in this community by removing blight. And so I would like to say, again, thanks to the members of the community who've cared enough to come out and let your thoughts be known. And I think there was a lot of good input. And we thank you and Mr. Parks for being so generous with your time and providing this opportunity to get community input and, allowing us to know, what our concerns are. And I think that we all look forward to working with you, in the near future. And, I really hate to say it, but, Valor Tower, it took 2 years working with the county, and, our communities even had to intervene and, ask our commissioners, what can be done to move this forward. So, if you're going to, give us a good product, then I think that our community can get behind, you and Mr. Parks, and try to move this forward.
Thank you, everybody,
did.
for your time. And please, Mr. Powell's been gracious talking to us, but my time is your time. If there's something that I can do to help make this palatable, as far as not just palatable, but help make this something that you're just really excited to having in your community. That's what we need to know, because we think that, that having the community on board and you, the community, being excited about it is going to be key to the success of this, and will help us to contribute more to the revitalization of the area. So thank you very much for your time, and please do reach out, and look forward to talking to you more in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we would like to wish everyone a very happy holiday season and a healthy and prosperous new year.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
If you have any questions, comments, or concerns with this development project that you would like us to pass along to the architect or the developer, please contact us at belvederecivicclubmail@gmail.com. And to keep abreast of the latest updates, visit our website, belvederecivicclub.org, and click on the News tab. Thank you. Good night.